After enough time, though, irreversible damage can happen to the cell. Kind of like the sodium-potassium pump, there's also a calcium pump that helps keep too much calcium from getting in. And if that stops working, then calcium starts to build up, which is not a great thing. First, calcium can activate certain enzymes that you might not necessarily want to activate, like proteases that can slice up proteins and damage the cell's cytoskeleton, which remember is the structural framework that keeps the cell together. Also, endonucleases can be activated, which can cut up DNA, the cell's genetic material. And if we get back to the lactic acid, as more lactic acid builds up and the environment gets more acidic, the lysosomal membrane can be damaged as well, which usually houses these hydrolytic enzymes whose job is basically to grind up large molecules. And when they get out, well, they're also activated by calcium, and then they just start cutting everything in sight and basically start digesting the cell from the inside. Finally, the phospholipase enzyme, which basically splits phospholipids, gets activated. Since the cell's membrane's made of phospholipids, these can destroy the cell membrane, which is probably the most important sign of irreversible damage. When the membrane's destroyed, these enzymes we just listed, along with others, can leak out into the blood and continue wreaking havoc. Finally, let's jump back to calcium. Enzyme activation isn't the only effect calcium can have. Calcium can actually get into the mitochondria, causing a cascade that leads the mitochondrial membrane to be more permeable to small molecules. And so it lets a molecule that usually stays in the mitochondria, cytochrome C, to leak out into the cytosol. And this is a big red flag to the cell that things have gone south, and is kind of analogous to the self-destruct button. And activates a process called apoptosis, or programmed cell death. And this is a bit like cellular suicide. At this point, the cell's not in good shape, right? And all this happened eventually because of a lack of oxygen, or because of hypoxia.
Amazing facts.
I think this is going to be okay. My only misgiving is that all of these ingredients are readily available and none of them are terribly exotic. It's really easy to put this thing together.
We got 2-liter soda bottles. We got soda cans that it looks like you make the housing out of. But what's the magic go-go juice?
The most important thing are the activated carbon pellets. Now, these are what you find in like Brita water filters. You got it at a pet store for aquariums.
So this is just from a pet store, activated charcoal. Now, I know activated charcoal is what they'll give to people who have overdosed or who have something in their belly.
Yeah, it bonds with the contaminant that you've taken into your system. The vets often recommend that you give it to a dog if he eats chocolate or something else that will make an animal sick.
Theoretically, we're going to breathe through this stuff, and whatever the tear gas is...
Theoretically, it's going to filter out all of the impurities, and we're going to put some cotton in there to add a little extra layer of protection on top of it.
Let's start. Let's just dive in here. Step one.
Yeah, step one, what you want to do is you want to cut the bottom off of the canister. And the bottom of the 2-liter will actually be the top of your mask.
Okay.
You want it to fit over your face, so you don't want to cut off too much. You'll just take it and cut like a rectangle.
So the idea is the wide part should be a band across your forehead.
What you want is something like this.
Yeah.
Your face fits into, and you want the sides to wrap around a little bit. It's going to work great.
From the front, mine looks like a Roman centurion mask.
Okay.
See?
Is that a fit?
The tape will help with that, but yeah, you want to make sure that you get as much contact with your skin as possible.
What about there's kind of a gap up here, and then this is poking in.
It feels like the pokey bits are pushing the mask off my face. So I'm going to try rounding these down.
Oh, that feels much tighter. And in fact,
if you have it sealed off and you can suck and keep it in,
then I think you got a good seal.
Oh, and you can take the cap and toss that. So what we're going to do is wrap electrical tape, not only for sealing it up, but just for comfort, really, so that you don't have these sharp edges jabbing into your skin. I kind of feel like we're the Elon Musks of garbage.
All right, I'm feeling pretty good.
It's a tight seal.
The next part is that we want to set up the filtration system. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to take these cans, and I was making mine rather long, actually.
You figure the more that you're breathing through, the better, right?
Yeah, and before you cut it, it's a little easier if you poke the holes in the bottom.
Breathing holes first. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you want to get plenty of these in there.
Now you're using a compass, right?
Yeah, just to make several punctures.
So I assume the thought here is we want enough that there's a free way for air to flow through, but we don't want so much that the charcoal can fall right out, right?
Correct.
So is that looking good?
That looks great. After that, you're going to want to put some cotton padding in there. You can use these regular little cotton discs.
So those pads keep the charcoal from spilling out, but they also keep you from inhaling any kind of like heavy duty. That probably filters
Any particulates.
Correct.
Yeah. The trick is, though, the more you put in there, that's another obstruction.
And so that's the balance. You want the airflow to be going through this respirator part, not coming in through the sides.
Exactly. We're going to take several spoonfuls of the charcoal pellets and just fill them up in the can. And then for extra added measure, you can take another piece of cotton and put that on top.
You were mentioning that those were difficult to breathe through, so I'm going to try thinning this out a little bit.
I went ahead and did the same thing you did and just kind of split them in half. And before you tape it all together, go ahead and just put it up to your mouth and see if you can breathe through it when you put the cotton in there.
Try to breathe through this and make sure.
Yeah, I can feel it coming out the bottom. The next step, take your can and just place it in there like that.
Do we seal up the top of the can, or we're not worried about it cutting in?
You know, I didn't find that was necessary.
Okay.
Maybe later I will find that it is very, very necessary.
We'll find out.
The key here is making sure that you don't leave any leaks.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, don't do that.
Here, I'm going to take just a little bit of this cotton and wedge it on top.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going in a controlled environment, but it seems like if you just want to have this in your backpack, you'd want it totally sealed up.
Yeah. That's
There
a
you
good
go. So in
point.
this case, I just stuffed a little bit of cotton in there.
Now see if you can breathe through it.
Oh, it is harder.
That is one of the biggest challenges is you have to be really careful about how much cotton you put in there.
You know what?
'Cause that can quickly
Yeah.
obscure your airway.
Okay, so it seems like we're just about set. We've
Yeah.
got our respirator part. We've got the seal on our face. How do we
Yeah.
keep it attached?
For convenience sakes, just take a rubber band, cut it in half, punch a hole over here. I usually get it up by the temples, just by the corners where it connects. And I just take a rubber band and cut it in half and then tied knots at the end and pushed it through the hole there.
So I guess it's important to figure out the right amount of tension on your rubber bands to keep it sealed on your face.
Absolutely. I mean, you want something flexible where you can just slip it on and off, but I have seen other people who have made fastens and clasps and adjustable belts. It feels like I'm